The first thing many people start losing after 60 isn't their memory. It's their legs. And by the time they notice it, they're already losing something much bigger, their independence. The stairs become harder. Getting out of a chair takes more effort. Walking doesn't feel quite as easy as it used to. Most people assume that's just aging. But what if it isn't? What if that weakness isn't actually coming from age? What if it's coming from something missing from your plate every single day? Before we get to the foods themselves, there's something important you need to understand. Because most people think weak legs happen for one simple reason. They assume they're getting older. And while age does play a role, that's not the whole story. The real problem is that your legs depend on several biological systems working together every single day. Your muscles need the right signals to repair themselves. They need a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients. They need healthy circulation. And they need strong communication between your brain and your muscles. When even one of those systems begins to decline, you may notice small changes. You feel less steady. You get tired more quickly. Stairs become more challenging. Standing for long periods becomes uncomfortable. At first, you barely notice it. A little more effort getting up, a little less confidence on the stairs, a little less energy by the end of the day. But year after year, those small changes can turn into major limitations. And here's what surprises many people. In many cases, these systems aren't declining simply because of age. They're declining because they're not getting the nutrients they need to function properly. In fact, one of the most important nutrients for preserving muscle strength after 60 is something many older adults don't consume enough of. That's why some people in their 70s remain active, independent, and strong, while others struggle with mobility much earlier. The difference is often not just how much they move, it's how well they support the systems that keep their legs working in the first place. And that brings us to the first food on our list. Because if your body can't properly activate the muscle-building process, everything else becomes harder. Let's start with one of the most powerful foods for keeping that signal alive after 60. The first food on this list is one that almost everyone recognizes: eggs. And if you're over 60, they may be far more important than you've been led to believe. For years, many older adults were told to limit eggs because of concerns about cholesterol. As a result, some people reduced them. Others stopped eating them altogether. But in the process, they may have removed one of the most effective foods for maintaining muscle strength as they age. Here's why. After 60, keeping muscle isn't just about eating protein. It's about sending the right signal to your muscles. And that's where many people run into trouble. As we get older, our muscles become less responsive to the signals that tell them to repair and rebuild. Scientists call this anabolic resistance. But you don't need to remember the name. What matters is understanding the result. Your body becomes less efficient at maintaining muscle tissue, even if you're eating reasonably well. And that's where eggs become so valuable. Eggs contain a key amino acid called leucine. Think of leucine as the switch that helps turn on your body's muscle-building process. Without enough of it, your muscles may receive the raw materials they need. But the rebuilding signal stays weak. With enough of it, that signal becomes much stronger. And that's especially important after 60. Research has shown that leucine-rich foods can help stimulate muscle protein synthesis, even in older adults whose muscle-building response has naturally declined with age. In simple terms, eggs help remind your muscles that they're still supposed to maintain themselves. And there's another detail many people don't realize. Timing matters. Your muscles are often most responsive in the morning, after an overnight fast, and after physical activity. That's one reason eggs can be such a powerful breakfast food for older adults. A practical target for many people is 2 to 3 whole eggs several times per week, unless their healthcare provider has advised otherwise. Not just the whites. The yolk contains valuable nutrients that work together with the protein. Now, activating the muscle-building signal is an important first step. But what happens if something inside your body is quietly breaking down muscle faster than it can be rebuilt? Because that's exactly what the next food helps address. Now, Activating the muscle-building signal is an important first step. But what happens if something inside your body is quietly breaking down muscle faster than it can be rebuilt? Because that's exactly what happens in many older adults. And one of the most powerful foods for helping address that problem is salmon. Here's why. One of the biggest hidden challenges after 60 is chronic inflammation. Not the kind that causes obvious pain or swelling. The kind that works quietly in the background, day after day, year after year. Many people never notice it, but over time, it can make it harder for your muscles to repair, recover, and maintain their strength. Think of it this way. Imagine you're repairing a house. You have the workers. You have the materials. You have the instructions. But every night, someone removes a few bricks from the wall. No matter how hard you work, progress becomes slow. That's what chronic inflammation can do to muscle tissue over time. And that's where salmon becomes so valuable. Salmon is one of the richest natural sources of omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA. These healthy fats help support the body's normal inflammatory response and have been widely studied for their role in healthy aging. Research has shown that older adults with higher omega-3 intake often maintain better muscle function and physical performance as they age. But salmon offers another important advantage: vitamin D. Many adults over 60 have lower vitamin D levels than they realize. And vitamin D doesn't just support bone health. It also plays an important role in muscle function. In other words, salmon helps support both the muscle itself and the environment that allows that muscle to keep performing well. A practical goal for many older adults is 2 servings of salmon each week. Consistency matters far more than perfection. Now, reducing inflammation helps protect the muscle you're trying to preserve. But your muscles still need something else. They need a reliable supply of oxygen and nutrients every single day. And that's exactly where the next food comes in. So far, we've activated the muscle-building signal with eggs, and we've helped protect those muscles from chronic inflammation with salmon. But there's another problem that often goes unnoticed. What happens when your muscles aren't receiving the oxygen and nutrients they need in the first place? Because even the healthiest muscle can't perform at its best if its supply line starts to weaken. And one of the most effective foods for supporting that supply line is leafy greens. Foods like spinach, kale, arugula, and Swiss chard help support healthy circulation, nutrient delivery, and muscle function. Here's why. As we get older, circulation naturally becomes less efficient. Blood vessels may become less flexible. Blood flow can slow down, and the muscles in your legs, which work harder than almost any other muscles in your body, may begin receiving less of what they need to stay strong. Think of it like a delivery network. You can have all the right building materials waiting at the warehouse. But if the roads become damaged or congested, those materials won't arrive where they're needed. That's what poor circulation can do over time. And that's where leafy greens become so valuable. Leafy greens contain natural compounds called nitrates. Your body converts these compounds into nitric oxide, which helps blood vessels relax and supports healthy blood flow. In simple terms, leafy greens help improve the delivery system. More oxygen, more nutrients, better support for the muscles that help keep you moving. But that's not their only benefit. Leafy greens are also one of the richest natural sources of magnesium. And magnesium plays an essential role in muscle contraction, balance, coordination, and recovery. Without enough of it, muscles may not function as efficiently as they should. Research has linked higher magnesium intake with better muscle strength and physical performance in older adults. That's one reason many experts encourage older adults to include leafy greens every day. A practical goal is 2 to 3 cups daily in a salad, added to eggs, mixed into a smoothie. The exact method matters less than the habit itself. Now, improving circulation helps nutrients reach your muscles. But what if your body still isn't absorbing those nutrients efficiently? because that's another hidden problem many older adults never see coming. And the next food helps address exactly that. Now, improving circulation helps nutrients reach your muscles. But what if your body still isn't absorbing those nutrients efficiently? Because that's another hidden problem many older adults never see coming. And one of the best foods for helping support that process is Greek yogurt. Here's why. Many people assume that if they eat healthy foods, their muscles automatically receive all the benefits. But that's not always the case. Your body still has to digest, absorb, and use those nutrients effectively. And as we get older, that process can become less efficient. That's where your gut becomes incredibly important. Inside your digestive system lives a vast community of beneficial bacteria known as the gut microbiome. For years, scientists mainly associated the microbiome with digestion. But today, research suggests it may play a much bigger role in healthy aging, including how effectively your body uses nutrients that support muscle health. In other words, your gut helps determine how much benefit your muscles actually receive from the foods you eat. And that's where Greek yogurt stands out. Greek yogurt contains beneficial probiotics that help support a healthy gut microbiome. It also provides a substantial amount of high-quality protein in a form that many people find easy to include in their daily routine. Together, these nutrients help support both the digestive system and the muscles that depend on it. Research has linked a healthier gut microbiome with better physical function and muscle health in older adults. And while no single food is a magic solution, Greek yogurt can be a simple way to support a system that many people completely overlook. A practical goal for many older adults is 1 serving per day. Plain Greek yogurt is often the best option. You can enjoy it on its own, add berries, or pair it with other healthy foods as part of a balanced meal. Now, by this point, we've activated the muscle-building signal. We've helped reduce chronic inflammation, we've supported circulation, and we've improved nutrient absorption. But there's still one more system we haven't talked about: the communication between your brain and your muscles. Because strength means very little if the signal telling your muscles what to do starts becoming less reliable. And that's exactly what the next food helps support. Now, by this point, we've activated the muscle-building signal. We've helped reduce chronic inflammation. We've supported circulation, and we've improved nutrient absorption. But there's still one more system we haven't talked about: the communication between your brain and your muscles. Because strength means very little if the signal telling your muscles what to do starts becoming less reliable. And that's exactly where the next food comes in: beets. Now, beets aren't usually the first food people think about when they think about strength. But what they support may be just as important as muscle itself. Here's why. Every movement begins in the brain. Before you take a step, before you stand up from a chair, before you regain your balance after a stumble, your brain has to send a signal telling your muscles exactly what to do. When that communication is working well, movement feels smooth, confident, and automatic. But as we get older, that process can become less efficient. You may notice it as hesitation, a slight loss of balance, slower reactions, or the feeling that your legs aren't responding quite as quickly as they once did. And that's not always a muscle problem. Sometimes it's a communication problem. That's where beets may help. Beets are one of the richest natural sources of dietary nitrates. Your body converts these nitrates into nitric oxide, a compound that helps support healthy blood flow throughout the body. But what's especially interesting is that this may also help support blood flow to areas of the brain involved in movement and coordination. Research suggests that dietary nitrates from foods like beets may help support physical performance, mobility, and cognitive function as we age. In simple terms, beets may help support both the muscles doing the work and the brain directing that work. And there's another benefit. Studies have shown that dietary nitrates may help improve the efficiency of physical activity, meaning your body may be able to perform the same movement while using less energy. For older adults, that's an important advantage. less fatigue, more endurance, greater confidence staying active. A practical goal is 1 medium beet several times per week. Roasted, added to salads, or blended into a smoothie. The exact method matters less than making it a regular part of your routine. Now we've supported muscle signaling, inflammation, circulation, absorption, and brain-muscle communication. But there is one final food that helps bring all of these systems together, and it's a food that many older adults have been avoiding for years because of advice that may no longer reflect what we know today. Let's talk about number 1. Let's bring everything together. Because by now you might be wondering, where do I start? And the good news is that you don't need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. You don't need a complicated meal plan, and you certainly don't need expensive supplements. What matters most is consistency. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to change everything at once. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is building habits you can actually maintain. Here's a simple approach. Start by adding just one of these foods to your routine this week. Not all 6, just one. Maybe it's eggs for breakfast. Maybe it's a serving of Greek yogurt each day. Maybe it's adding more leafy greens to lunch or dinner. Then next week, add another. Small changes are easier to maintain. And over time, those small changes can produce remarkable results. Because when you look at these foods individually, each one supports a different system. Eggs help activate the muscle-building signal. Salmon helps support a healthy inflammatory response. Leafy greens help support circulation and nutrient delivery. Greek yogurt helps support nutrient absorption. Beets help support communication between your brain and your muscles. But when those systems begin working together, something powerful happens. Your body becomes better equipped to maintain strength, recover from daily activity, stay active, and preserve independence. And here's something important to remember. You don't lose strength overnight, which means you usually don't rebuild it overnight either. The habits you repeat week after week matter far more than any single meal. That's why consistency almost always beats intensity. And that brings us to the final food on our list. The one food that helps create an environment where all of these systems can work together more effectively. And it's a food that many older adults have been avoiding for years because of advice that may no longer reflect what we know today. Let's take a look at number 1. We've finally arrived at number 1. And if you've been paying attention, you'll notice something important. Every food we've discussed so far supports a different part of the equation. Eggs help activate the muscle-building signal. Salmon helps support a healthy inflammatory response. Leafy greens help support circulation and nutrient delivery. Greek yogurt helps support nutrient absorption. Beets help support communication between your brain and your muscles. But the final food is different. Because instead of supporting just one system, it helps create an environment where all of those systems can work together more effectively. And it's a food that millions of people already have in their kitchen. A food many older adults spent years avoiding. Extra virgin olive oil. For decades, fat was often treated as the enemy. Many people switched to low-fat products. Others reduced healthy oils without realizing what they were giving up. But today, we understand much more about the role healthy fats play in healthy aging. Extra virgin olive oil contains powerful natural compounds called polyphenols. These compounds help support a healthy inflammatory response and help protect cells from everyday oxidative stress. In simple terms, they help create conditions that are more favorable for maintaining strength, mobility, and physical function as we age. But that's only part of the story. Healthy fats also help your body absorb certain nutrients more effectively, including some of the vitamins and protective compounds found in many of the foods we've already discussed. In other words, extra virgin olive oil doesn't just provide its own benefits, it helps your body get more value from the other healthy foods you're already eating. That's one reason it remains a cornerstone of the Mediterranean diet, one of the most studied dietary patterns in the world. Research has consistently linked diets rich in extra virgin olive oil with healthier aging, better physical function, and a lower risk of age-related decline. A practical goal for many older adults is 1 to 2 tablespoons per day, drizzled over vegetables, added to salads, or included as part of a balanced meal. Simple, consistent, sustainable. And that's really the message I want to leave you with today. Strong legs aren't built by a single food. They're built by supporting the systems that keep those legs working year after year. Small choices, repeated consistently. Because the truth is, your legs have carried you through every chapter of your life. They've taken you to work, helped you care for your family, allowed you to travel, play with your grandchildren, stay independent, and continue doing the things that make life meaningful. The goal isn't simply to add years to your life. It's to add life to those years, to keep moving, keep exploring, keep enjoying the freedom that comes from being strong enough to do the things you love. And the choices you make today can help shape that future. So I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 6 foods do you already eat regularly? And which one are you going to start adding this week? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, please subscribe and join us here at The Aging Code. Every week, we share simple, practical strategies to help you stay strong, active, and independent for as long as possible. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.